Hello guys and welcome back to another skill point guide video for Total War Warhammer 3 on Immortal Empires. Today I'm going to be going over Imrik. I really like Imrik. He's a really good legendary lord, as you guys probably have known. Whether you play as him or going up against him, you know he can be quite the pain or quite the joy to have if you're playing as him or able to confederate him. Now his skill tree is a little all over the place because he's got some really good abilities. The Dragon Horn ability is a little different down the red line because it provides melee attack for all units on the battlefield for a period of time, other than just the generic like plus leadership in an area of effect that most lords have. Also, he has a really powerful special skill line, excuse me. It's got quite a few points that I really like to spend for his skill tree. But without further ado, let's jump in. I do like to start with Root Marcher again, but then after Root Marcher, I do like to detour a little bit and grab Dragon Horn. Just to, again, that plus 24 melee attack can make a really big difference when you're going up against your enemies, especially because even though the high elf infantry are better than most infantry units in the game, just because the high elves have a lot of passive abilities like the martial prowess, but I still believe their missile units are still vastly better in that regard. But that 24 melee attack can help just kind of tip the edge in a really close battle, so I really like to grab that early on. I also like to grab Bowmaster, just because I prefer missile units still over getting units like the, if I throw them in the campsite so I could potentially recruit, other than the Rangers or Spearmen early on, I really just prefer to get the Archers. Their range is a crucial aspect in their missile units, for all of their missile units rather, not just their archer units. But then after that, after going Root Marcher, Dragon Horn, and then grabbing Bowmaster, eventually I will get Skymaster, but early on you only have one dragon in your army, and so you're really not going to benefit from grabbing that early on. So I do like, after grabbing Dragon Horn and Bowmaster, to come back to the his blue line just a little bit, just to unlock his special skill line. So I do like to grab Wary because personally, again, I use missile units, so making sure that we don't get ambushed, or giving ourselves a better chance to defend ourselves against being ambushed. Getting that 30% ambush defense chance can make a really big deal, especially since we have Tretch nearby in the Crooked Mountain. That way, you know, in case you do potentially get ambushed, you can combat that a little better anyway, because archers, once you get ambushed, a archer or missile based army is not very good at handling ambushes there. But I do, after that, going down his blue line a little bit, I do like to grab the Merchant Lord just for the tradable resources project plus 2%. I just like that a lot better than the Iron Disciplinarian or the Bonded Service. Draft Master isn't too bad. But then after that, I really like going down his special skill line. You really shouldn't, at this point, you'll have enough points that you'll have unlocked his special skill line, which is special skill line is just fantastic. The influence 2+ turn is awesome. Being able to recruit heroes, or nobles rather, from all provinces while also increasing your hero capacity is just fantastic. It's a very powerful skill point. That way you can either get some replenishment in your armies, some more units to hold back the enemy while your missiles are doing the firing, or just being able to generate more influence per turn by doing agent action. It's a really good ability there. Now, I really like to get Ashen Fields because you're going to be doing a lot of fire damage as Imrik, especially in his army, especially once you get more dragons. So in order to unlock that, I like to first grab the Vol's armaments, just for the armor and extra spell resistance for the army. And then I also like to grab Dragon Heart. Astride the battlefield, it really just depends if you end up wanting to get Dragon Princes later on in the campaign. Personally, I usually don't get them because Cavalry still isn't the greatest in the game, even though they have been tweaked a little bit to make them better. And Ancient Pride, again, is something that, sort of like Skymaster. It's not something you really need early on because, again, you only have one dragon, and it's going to take you a while to get to tier 4 where you can get some of the lower ranked dragons. So I just like to kind of wait on that one until you end up getting some of these dragon encounters, or just being able to recruit more of them. But I do want to grab Ashen Fields, and then also Blazing Lance, and then also Dragon Pack. That way he causes fire, or he has weakness to fire when he like hits a unit, so they get 20% or 20% weakness to fire there. The Ashen Fields provides another 20% weakness to fire, so that's 40%. That way your piercing bolts of burning, or if you end up getting more fire magic like you start off with here with Michaela with your starting off mage, you'll be able, your burning heads will do more damage, especially if you add Kindle Flame on top of that with once she starts casting, whether it's whatever spell it may be, Burning Head, Flamestorm, Piercing Bolts of Burning. Kindle Flame will add another 20%, so we're up to 60% weakness to fire damage. Sort of like the Chaos Dwarves, his army specifically is just going to be doing loads of fire damage to the enemy. But then after going down his skill line a little bit, you can kind of go a lot of different ways. You can either finish his blue line or just focus on his melee line a little bit. I kind of like to focus on him, Imrik himself, a little bit before going down the blue line. I do like to grab the Speed of Assyrian just for the extra speed and melee defense, and then just start going down his melee line a little bit, and which I end up getting all of his points because it's just he's just insane once he's on his dragon mount. Plus the passive ability Lord of Dragons is really good. Being able to debuff a unit by negative 24 melee defense and negative 40 melee attack is a really good ability. And then just giving him more weapon strength, more melee defense, more speed. Heroic Killing Blow will just give him a little bit of a buffer to his armor piercing damage and base weapon damage. Again, making him just even more powerful. And then also grabbing more armor. Most times I don't like to grab armor just because it's not that big of a deal. But with him, I do like to grab it there. And we still have 15 points to spend even after doing all that. But after going down his melee line here, I do like to finish out his red line. I do like to get Sky Master because, again, it's thematic. It's really fun to see him, you know, casting X amount of breath attacks with your dragons. It's really cool if you're able to pause, set all those up, and then just see them just obliterate the enemy army. And then going down, finishing the red line, I do like to also grab Heart of the Flame because, again, I like to go down his dragon, or get some of his dragons. So he gets more physical resistance for them, more melee defense, more armor, and then also stand your ground. Just will provide himself with a little more leadership and melee defense in an area of effect for a period of time as well. And then at this point, I do like to also grab Ancient Pride, giving them even more physical resistance, more melee defense, and vigor loss reduction, which just means your dragons will fight better for longer. It's just a really good ability there once you start getting more than, you know, one dragon in your army. And then your last few points, I do basically always like to grab Mentor. That way he's not wasting points once he hits rank 50. Missile resistance is pretty good because, again, he's on a dragon, or more likely than not is going to be on his dragon, so he's a really big mount. So making sure he's just more resistant to base missile damage is really good there. And then your last 2 points, it really kind of depends up to you. The dedicated to Vol, I'm not a big fan of it. Again, it really depends if you just end up getting Dragon Princes, where you would get that as well as the Astride the Battlefield. But the armor +5 and the income from industry buildings +1% faction wide is just not that big of a deal to get it, especially if you're not getting Dragon Princes. It's just essentially a wasted point there. But then after that, my last 2 points, it really kind of just ends up depending what you feel like doing. I like to do the Elven Scholar just to grab some magic item drop chance and research rate. Usually the reason I don't grab like replenishment is because I usually have a life mage in his army at that point because he's got a bunch of single entities. So the life mage coupled with a few nobles can provide some replenishment over the turn, can provide healing during the battle there. That way you don't have to waste your points into Elven healing. But that is how I level up Imrik. I know it's not, you know, there's so many ways you can level him up. If you want to go with Dragon Princes as well, you could also grab him some spell resistance. It really kind of just depends personally as a player. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. And I hope you guys have a good one. And until the next video or live stream, I will see you guys later on. So bye.